Hi, church. I hope you're doing well. We're rolling along in our study of Philippians today. We're going to wrap up with chapter 2, and that means we're about halfway through our study of Philippians. So, congratulations to those of you who've persevered thus far, those of you who have endured. We're going to pick up with chapter 2, verse 25, read through verse 30. It's a big section, but see if you can stay with. Paul says this, I think it is necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus, my brother, co-worker, and fellow soldier, who is also your messenger, whom you sent to take care of my needs. For he longs for all of you and is distressed because you heard he was ill. Indeed, he was ill and almost died. But God had mercy on him, and not on him only, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore, I am all the more eager to send him, so that when you see him again, you may be glad, and I may have less anxiety. So then, welcome him in the Lord with great joy, and honor people like him, because he almost died for the work of Christ. He risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give me. In case you missed it, let me help to give you a sense of what it is that's going on in this passage. Actually, let's even go before this passage. In the preceding verses, maybe you remember this from last week, Paul had suggested he was going to send Timothy. Shortly thereafter, if he had been released, Paul would go to Philippi himself. Prior to sending Timothy, prior to Paul's arrival, he was going to send back Epaphroditus. That's what he's telling them now. Epaphroditus would be the very one carrying the letter we have been studying. In the first century, if you were imprisoned, it would be unlikely that those who imprisoned you would provide for your needs. And the daily ration of food you'd receive, if you received it, would be barely sufficient to meet your day-to-day needs. So it generally fell to the prisoners the prisoner's family and friends to provide for these needs. And it was the Philippian church who stepped up to support Paul in his imprisonment. They did so by sending Epaphroditus along with a gift. However, at some point in his journey from Philippi to Rome, he fell ill. And this presented a potential tragic turn of events, but it wouldn't have been entirely surprising. Travel of this sort in the first century often entailed significant danger. Yet Epaphroditus did endure. He survived, and in so doing, he was able to provide Paul with the support Paul so greatly needed. Now Paul was sending Epaphroditus back to alleviate and encourage the Philippians about their concern for Paul, but also regarding his own life as well. In the last several devotions, we talked about how in this section, what Paul was doing was drawing on examples in order to demonstrate the character of Christ he hoped to see in the church. And it wouldn't be hard for us to draw a line between Christ's self-emptying, even unto death on a cross, with Epaphroditus' own willingness to risk his life for the advancement of the gospel. I think that the connection between those two is pretty obvious. But more than that, what stuck out to me, what spoke to me this week is Paul's use of the term fellow soldier, found in verse 25. Paul uses this term only one other time in his letters, in his letter to Philemon. And some scholars think that Paul's use here is connected to Philippi's role as a colony established through the resettling of Roman military veterans. That might be true, but I think what's more important is the recognition that they were brothers in arms, at least spiritually speaking. They were engaged in a real conflict with the principalities and powers for the advancement of the gospel. That's how Paul identified himself and Epaphroditus, and it's a powerful one. As soldiers, particularly in wartime, have a different set of expectations than we do as civilians, don't they? They have a commander, they have a mission, they have an adversary. There's something on the line, and they have a responsibility to it. And usually if they don't fulfill their duty, there is a cost. Would you say that about yourself? Do you have a commander? And if so, are you following his command? Do you know the mission which you've been assigned? Do you know your adversary? Do you realize that you are in a spiritual battle today? I hope you do. I hope you're encouraged, fellow soldiers. May the kingdom come in power as you follow your commander on the mission he has called you to today. God bless you. Have a great week.